Some people do wonderfully on static dosing, and it can be magic for your joints, for your hot flashes, your night sweats, your skin, your hair. I've noticed. Want more estradiol? Why Rhythmic HRT might work better. Hi, I'm Dr. Valorie Davidson from the Progress Your Health podcast.
And I'm Dr. Maki from the Progress Your Health podcast. So we've talked about this in the past, but one trend that we've seen over the last few years with our website and Ask the Doctor and the podcast is women always want more estrogen.
And they need more estrogen. A lot of times I find that a lot of women are underdosed. Now, I know every practitioner has their own philosophy, and I completely respect that. But I do feel like women do need really good levels of estradiol, that when it's too low, we're not really getting the effectiveness from it. Now, some women can only tolerate a little bit, and that is totally fine. We want to treat the patient, not the numbers. But a lot of women do need more estradiol. And the reason we wanted to do this podcast is rhythmic dosing or rhythmic HRT is different than static dosing. You're actually able to achieve physiological levels of estradiol, which I'll go over the dosings on how much estradiol you use.
That's the shocker.
Yeah, it is like how much you'll use over, a 28-day cycle. But in terms of static dosing, that's taking the same dose every day. Same estrogen, biased estradiol every day, and the same progesterone every single day. That's static dosing, where rhythmic dosing is intentionally recreating the menstrual cycle. So you're doing varying doses of estradiol to match that of what the ovary would put out when our ovaries were working before we went through menopause. And same thing with the progesterone, where you do the progesterone from day 14 till somebody gets a period. Now, I have a uterus. I'm 53 years old. I have a uterus. I'm in menopause, but I do rhythmic dosing. So every month I get a period. Now, if somebody doesn't have a uterus, they can still do rhythmic dosing. It's totally fine to do that. In some ways, they just go up to day 28 and start back on day 1. But we really wanted to get across the levels of estradiol that you can use with rhythmic.
Yeah. So hysterectomy in some ways, and then do rhythmic dosing in some ways could be best case scenario, because now you don't have to deal with the period anymore.
Well, a lot of women like myself too like having that period. They always feel like it's a reset.
Sure.
So of course, a lot of women say, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to have to get my period back." Those were awful.
Oh.
The goal isn't to get your original periods back, because I will say, just for transparency, and that's partly why I went into HRT. As a young woman, I had very terrible periods. I had endometriosis. I've had laparoscopic once, DNC another time, because I had endometrial hyperplasia. Just as a young woman, I was put on birth control pills. That was my only option. Here, take the pill. And I felt like that is not the solution. Now, granted, this is in the 90s. That's kind of why I went into the HRT.
Right.
So even with my history, I can do the rhythmic dosing. I'm able to adjust the levels of estrogen and progesterone like I do with my patients, so that their periods are easy peasy.
Which is the way it's supposed to be. Right? It's supposed to be no symptoms, no pain, no cramping, not any of the PMS symptoms that women deal with their entire menstrual history. That's a sign of dysfunction of some sort. But when your only options are either drugs or birth control or surgery, there's no really understanding of how to actually fix those problems.
And one thing too, just sorry to interrupt, is with rhythmic dosing, women will say, well, oh my goodness, am I going to get my endometriosis back? I'll say, just from personal experience, no. But all the women that I've worked with rhythmic dosing, I've never seen their endometriosis come back. I've never seen their fibroids flare up. Now, I have seen some other patients that have come into me, new patients, that their fibroids have flared up from doing static dosing because the estradiol was a little too high. I have seen that.
Yeah, it's too high for too long, and then it can create some of that. When you have the cycle to those hormones, it tends to create a little bit of a different environment.
Yeah, so that's sort of the safety behind that rhythmic dosing. If somebody has a uterus, is you're intentionally thickening up that endometrial lining, and then you slough it off and you have a period at the end of the cycle, and you start back at day 1. As opposed to static dosing, you do not want a thickened endometrial lining at all, because that is a risk for uterine cancer.
Right. And that's the distinction between the two at the end of the day. And for those women like yourself that want their brain to work, their body to work, all those things that are part of menopause that women don't want, you can only accomplish some of that with the static dosing. You can accomplish a heck of a lot more with the rhythmic dosing. You cannot compare those two as far as how someone feels on them, where most of the conventional options for women just touch on the surface of what, there's a lot of talk about how amazing HRT is, but you got to pick the right tool for the job.
Exactly. Everybody's different. Some people do wonderfully on static dosing, and it can be magic for your joints, for your hot flashes, your night sweats, your skin, your hair. I've noticed with the rhythmic dosing, I'll tend to maybe switch patients to that, especially if that libido isn't coming up.
Right.
The rhythmic dosing is amazing for putting the libido back on the brain. Again, brain function. People will say sometimes that static dosing isn't quite helping with the brain fog. The rhythmic dosing can be incredible for that. And then you think about the hair, the skin, and the nails. The rhythmic dosing is great. Now, it's not for everybody. Like if somebody, because I'll go over my dosing with you. I have to change it every few days because I'm increasing up my estradiol and then I'm decreasing it. I'm starting my progesterone, increasing up that, decreasing it, getting a period. You have to be very specific where you are in your calendar. You have to keep track of your dosing, and you have to keep track of your symptoms too. Like I might have if I have sleeplessness on a certain day of the cycle, I'll know maybe I need to adjust that dose. Now, if somebody has a hard time doing that, or it's just they're feeling scattered, maybe that's not right for them. A lot of women too that are already like, hey, I feel really good. I'm fit. I eat good. I'm healthy. I want to keep it this way for as long as as long as possible. I don't want to age. I don't want things to start to backslide. That's where the rhythmic dosing is really nice for what I call the racehorse. Somebody that's already got this amazing lifestyle. They're eating great. They want to just make sure they're able to continue that.
Yeah, if you go to our website, you take the quiz, and you'll determine where you are. Either you're in perimenopause, you're an in-betweener, or you're in menopause. Rachel, the racehorse, is your sort of character or avatar of who is a good fit for rhythmic dosing.
I wrote a free guide that kind of goes through perimenopause, menopause, and also the in-betweener, because the in-betweener is also a great one that would start the rhythmic dosing. That's right when they're coming out of perimenopause or just kind of in late perimenopause, going into menopause. Their body doesn't miss a beat when you add in that rhythmic dosing, because it's like, body's like, oh, thanks, where'd this go? Now we have, back to our cycle. I understand this. You can keep that brain and that, not technically the ovaries because you're in menopause, but the hormones in the system. The brain thinks the ovaries are secreting these hormones. Now, somebody that maybe hadn't been on HRT, which unfortunately there was a generation of women that were neglected with their hormones, and they might be 65 years old and have never been on HRT because they were told it was going to give them cancer, which it does not. Those women, it is harder to matriculate them to the rhythmic dosing because their bodies it's a little bit harder for it to remember. So that's where it kind of depends on the person, and of course working with your practitioner.
And it also depends on too, like their previous menstrual history. Just how their body responds to estrogen, being pregnant, how they respond to estrogen. Those are all the factors that we sort of, but usually the Rachel, the racehorse, that avatar, is really, at least with our population, is relatively pretty easy to spot them. Like, this profile of this person and the things that they want to accomplish, and they're maybe already on HRT and they're not accomplishing that. It's really easy to tell that, hey, this one is a good candidate.
Yeah, or somebody that's just not getting what they want to achieve with HRT with static dosing. That's where the rhythmic dosing can be such a beautiful matriculation to that. But let me show you what I do. So this is kind of a sample of what rhythmic dosing looks like. Now, the thing is with rhythmic dosing is you have a protocol, but you can also tailor that protocol for that particular individual. So this protocol that I'm doing is actually tailored to me to fit, who I am, my blood work and my goals, and how I kind of balance my hormones, where somebody else might be a little bit different. So for example, day 1 would be my period. So day 1 to day 5, I take 4 milligrams of estradiol transdermal. I put it on my inner thigh because I don't want it to get on our animals. And that's a nice fatty space to kind of soak up the hormones, which hormones all have a cholesterol backbone. They're fat soluble. So I do 4 milligrams in the morning and I do 4 milligrams in the evening. So that's a total of 8 milligrams. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then on day 6, 7, and 8, I increase that up to 6 milligrams of estradiol twice a day. So a total of 12 in that 24-hour period. So as you can see in the natural ovarian cycle, the estrogen is starting to go up, hoping for ovulation. So on day 9 and 10, I increase it up to 7 milligrams of estradiol twice a day. Then on day 11, I go to 8 milligrams twice a day of estradiol. And then on day 12, which in a perfect 28-day cycle, the body surges this huge amount of estradiol on day 12 to try to cause an ovulation. Of course, I'm in menopause. My ovaries are checked out. I'm not going to get an ovulation, but I'm mimicking it. So on day 12, I actually do 12 milligrams of estradiol in the morning and 12 milligrams of estradiol in the evening. So that's a total of 24 milligrams of estradiol in a 24-hour period.
Yeah, and that's not biased. That's straight estradiol.
Estradiol. And then on the next day, so as that then you start to see the estradiol start to gently come down. I go down to 6 milligrams in the morning of estradiol and 6 milligrams in the evening. Then on day 14, that's the lowest day, as I go down to 3 milligrams in the morning, 3 milligrams in the evening. Then on day 15, 16, and 17, I do go up to 4 milligrams because the estradiol does come up a little bit towards that end of that cycle. Is on that 15, 16, 17, I go to 4 milligrams twice a day. And then on day 18, until I get my period, I end up doing 5 milligrams twice a day. So that's 10 milligrams in the 24-hour period. Now, I usually get my period right around day 26, which is pretty typical for me. Even when I was menstruating, I was 26, 27, sometimes 28. Some women will get their periods on day 28 when they're doing the rhythmic dosing. If it's closer to 30 or 32, if that wasn't originally what their cycles were when they were younger and menstruating, then I usually kind of increase up that estrogen. It usually means that estrogen's a little low. They're getting their periods a little too soon, like day 21, you might want to decrease the estrogen or raise the progesterone. So there's all different ways to dose with that. And then you can also test. Of course, we like to do the testing on this. We'll do another podcast on progesterone because there's a lot to kind of unwrap with progesterone, I think, with rhythmic versus cyclic. But in terms of the estradiol with rhythmic dosing, as you can see, you can really get those estradiol levels up.
Yeah, and now, granted, as a little caveat or a little disclaimer here, this is for educational purposes. Do not try to recreate this on your own. This is not the starting point for any woman, right? This is you work your way up to this kind of dosing once your body has a chance to be exposed to it. So even with this, we usually start at a much lower point, and then it gradually works its way up. And the woman herself, her subjective, situation, how she's feeling, what's getting better, getting worse, will be adapted as time goes on. And sometimes it takes 3 months, sometimes it takes 6 months. In reality, it is sort of like a never-ending tweaking process. Now, that doesn't mean that you're never going to feel good. The patients that are doing rhythmic dosing,
women feel really good on
they feel good,
dosing.
but might tweak this here and might tweak that there, and maybe there's a stressor in her life or something's going on. So now things get adjusted on the fly as her body's already had exposure to the hormones.
So just like Dr. Maki mentioned, is don't do this on your own, because this is a protocol that we studied intensely. I've been doing this since 2009. I think you've been working with women with rhythmic dosing even before that. This is something that really you want to work with a practitioner that knows how to do rhythmic dosing. So that's the most important caveat, because you want to make sure that you're doing it right. But I wanted
and safely.
But I wanted to show this because even when I originally started on rhythmic dosing, I mean, I've done static dosing, I've done it all because I like to, hormones are our thing. We're the hormone experts. But when, I started went through menopause about 50 and a half. And so I've been doing this protocol for a couple of years, but I did kind of start off a little bit lower and work my way up. But even the lower doses are still a tremendous amount of estradiol compared to somebody on a biased.
Yeah. Now, one thing that does happen on the practitioner side is when you see the patch that has 0.05 or 0.075 or 0.1, and you look at the doses that you take there, it freaks people out. But you cannot compare the patch or even bias to this
Static,
because they're all completely different. And the woman herself, whatever form of hormone she's using, she's going to respond to each one of them completely different. Even now, there is an idea, and I see the same thing with thyroid, which we're going to talk about that later too, is that whatever the dose is, everyone assumes that those doses are, they convert to the other form. And that is, when you've been doing this long enough, or even you realize real quickly that those doses are not the same when you transfer from one to the other.
Yeah, you're right. I think at some point we'll do a thyroid conversion about the different thyroids.
Yeah.
So not on this episode, we'd be here for another couple hours. But either way, I just wanted to kind of show everybody, if you're not getting the satisfaction that you want with the current HRT that you're on, or you're having symptoms of maybe the estrogen's too high and too low at the same time, which is maybe another podcast, is perhaps rhythmic dosing might work better for you or something for you to consider.
Yeah. And if you're interested, you can also look at our community, the Progression Hormones community, where we sort of educate on how to do this in a safe way. So you're not flying blind. You sort of know what's going on. You know what to expect because we tell you. Now, granted, we're licensed in 5 states, so we can prescribe in the 5 states that we're obviously where we're licensed. But we've worked with some other people that they've learned a tremendous amount and are able to translate that with their own practitioners. Yeah. So we're going to probably circle back around on this on the progesterone side. If you have any questions at all, write them down below in the comments. You can always reach out on our website if you don't feel comfortable with that. But until next time, I'm Dr. Maki.
And I'm Dr. Valorie.
Take care. Bye-bye.